There it is. Okay. All right. Well, hello everyone. This is Bukeka. You know me, I go by Bukeka Style, and welcome to another episode of On Stage on Fave Unite TV. And we have with us today an amazing recording artist. He is known by Raven with a different kind of spelling to it, Ravynx. But his name is Chucks Israel Marshall. He is a Nigerian artist whose music has shaped by personal truths and lived experiences. His sound blends emotional honesty, introspection, and storytelling, creating music that resonates deeply with listeners. And I can tell you that that's true for myself personally. He is the youngest of six siblings and the only child of his biological parents. Raven grew up in a family where music was a constant presence. While his siblings pursued gospel music, he found his own path in secular sound. His stepbrother introduced him to the guitar, sparking his first interest in music, while his big brother, now a programmer, helped him sharpen his creative vision. Sadly, after losing his mother at the age of 7, he never knowing his father Raven tuned into music as both a refuge and purpose. But it is his aunt Wendy who became a guiding force in his life, helping him improve his reading, writing, and spoken English while instilling values that continue to shape him today. So we're going to hear more about this amazing artist. Thank you, Raven, so much for being with us today. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. And I'm actually excited that I'm here.
Well, we're excited too, absolutely. And Raven, when I first heard your music through the My Black Experience Challenge that we had, can you believe
Can you
almost a
believe
year ago?
almost a year
I
ago,
was really, really
I
moved by your music and have continued
and
to
continue to
listen to the newer releases and excited about the new things
and
that you've got
excited
coming out.
about
So let me just go ahead and let's get into some questions here
go
so
ahead
people want to
and
know
let's get to
more about you. So let's talk about this pivot that you made.
this
You mentioned in your
you made.
bio that you grew up in a family where there was a
You
lot of gospel music growing around. So tell us about that moment.
so
It's described a little bit
tell us that
in your
moment.
bio, but
It's
tell us a
described
little
a
bit
little
about that moment when you
bit
realized that
about
you had your own voice and it belonged to the secular world of music.
okay. Well, it started actually 2012, 13, because that was when I lost my parents, my mom. Lost my mom 2011, late 2011. So back then, that was when we had the likes of Wizkid, Olamide, Davido. They were in their prime. They just started as well, Burna Boy. Yeah. So I grew up listening to them starting up and all. So at the beginning, I don't like the idea and concept of secular music because I don't know what it sounds like. To me, it was, what kind of gibberish is this? And then growing up, I started finding interest in them. So 2019, 2020, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this. So I started recording with phones then. I recorded my friend's phone. I tried different sounds. And then my best artist was Joe Boy because in as per 2019, we had the likes of Rema, we had Fireboy, we had Joe Boy. So three of them came up as well at the same time. But Rema was Rema was more in his prime and he knew what he was doing. So I was like, I like this guy. I want to be like this guy. So what I did was I studied what made him unique. So I he was my role model. So I did research about him. I listened to his sound. I wanted to know what made him different from other artists. So I guess that was where my interest for the secular music started.
Okay. And Raven, I'm going to ask you to get closer to the microphone and speak a little bit louder. Can you do that? Can we test that a little bit?
Okay. Is this better?
That's better. That's better. Okay. So you mentioned that your
Okay.
stepbrother introduced you to the guitar. How does that
Yes.
strings-based foundation influence the way you compose melodies today, especially now that you've mastered the digital tools like FL Studio?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it majority of the sounds I worked. So I started singing on minors at the beginning. I started writing on minor notes, that's sad notes. So because of the guitar, that was why I could do that. So I don't like regular progressions. I like having a little sad notes with my tone. So what I did there was with the little knowledge I have playing the strings, so I use that into my sound as well. So since I would want to add my guitar, I like use my voice and I vox it out and I try it and say, okay, this sounds good. So I use aggress. I turn Afrobeat into something smooth and calm. That's because of the experience I have playing the guitar. The guitar is the kind of instrument that you play to soften the mood of you're angry, you play the guitar, the whole mood comes down. Everybody gets cool. Everyone is in the groove. Everyone's feeling the acoustics. And yeah, and then there's more vocal presence when there's strings with the voice. So I found a way to balance the strings with my vocals and place it into a genre of music that does not have calm or that's not calm because when you listen to Afrobeat or the first thing you think about when anyone mentioned Afrobeat, the first thing you get is okay, it's going to be troublesome, it's going to be ras, it's going to be heavy, it's going to be a lot of sounds fighting with each other. So what I just did is I have experience playing the guitar, so I mixed I matched that experience with the little experience I have with the presence with the present gen I'm working on. So I just merge those two together to get that calm feel um, in the song. So that's how it actually influenced my
I see.
my digital
Beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your growth as an artist. You credit your Aunt Wendy with helping you master the English language and instilling core
Yeah,
values. Yeah.
yes. So
So,
okay.
um,
So
go ahead.
oh okay. So concerning my aunt Wendy, well, after losing my mom, so my aunt Wendy is my second cousin. So I think I have to start by defining that. My aunt Wendy is my second cousin, and she's aside my mom, she's the closest I have. So and she's also the closest my mom had when my mom was alive. So after losing my mom, she did everything a mother would do for a child. She did all of those things for me. And since she's not married and she has no husband, she has no child, so she was there, she was present emotionally, physically. If I had anything I need to talk about, she'll always give me a listening ear. So yeah, she was there basically all my life, well since I lost my mom, if you get what I mean.
Wow. Well, that's a
So
blessing to have her. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, I was a little bit homeschooled for a while after losing my mom because
Mhm.
I had I had a lot of catch up to do. So that's why I put that statement there. So during the time where I was homeschooled, she did all of those. She did all of those.
Wow. So let me ask you this. You're largely self-taught through YouTube
Yes.
and mobile apps like BandLab and all of that. Um, First of all, how were you able to um, translate, what were the challenges in translating that information primarily in English and then bringing that into helping you learn the craft of playing guitar and learning how to use the apps like BandLab. I bet that was um, an interesting experience, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. To be sincere, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't, but I have this ability. Okay, many people, there's this phrase, monkey see, monkey do. So yeah, I have that ability. All it just takes me is one look at what you're doing, and I know what it takes to get it done. So my senior brother taught me how to play guitar, and then there was a church beside our house, and the church had a damaged keyboard. So I picked up the keyboard and I took it for repair. My elder sister could play, and I watched her play. The next day, I picked up the keyboard and I could play the exact thing she was playing. So all I just had to do was I developed myself and I developed that part of me. So I started with Voloco, to be sincere. I'm not sure if I wrote Voloco here, but I started with Voloco. I did a few recordings on Voloco. Then that was 2020. Everything happened in 2020. My whole music, me taking the music seriously, all started 2020. So 2020, I started with Voloco, and then I saw an ad about BandLab, and I said, okay, you know what, let's give this guy a try. But then I had 1% idea on how to use FL Studio, because I had a friend, Maya. He works with FL Studio a lot. So by watching him, I knew 1% of FL Studio, but I was not ready to kick in yet. So I tried BandLab. I tried BandLab a couple of times. I gave up, I'll be honest. I tried BandLab 2020 4 times. I uninstalled and installed the app, and I was like, this guy is shitty. It's too difficult. I can't work with this. So I left it. I went back to Vodoko. Then 2021, I got my first device. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try this again. Then I tried BandLab. So I recorded a few songs on BandLab, and it was nice. Then 2022, that was when I left the house and I started staying on my own. So that was the year I was 16 in 2017 then. So I started staying on my own. I was working at a club. So at the club, I played the guitar. I crashed there. The next morning, I go to my friend's place and I shower. So I looked at the similarities between Voloco, BandLab, then FL Studio, because 2022 was when I got my first system. Though the system was more of like a desktop. Yeah, it was a Dell Latitude, very old system. I think it was made 1919 to 2020, I mean, to 2003. That was like the year of the system. That was when we made the system. So half of the screen had ink, the other half was perfect, but the system had no batteries. So I got the system for 5,000 naira. So that's about $3 to $4. So that
Okay.
was the price I got the system. And I started working on FL Studio using that. I had two friends, Tayo and Phoenix. Both of them taught me how to set up the FL properly. So after learning how to set up, I was 50% ready for FL Studio. All it just took was enough practice and experience.
Okay.
So 2023, I got some I got some fundings from my best friend, Nathan. So I got equipment, basic equipment. I got a podcast mic, some other stuff. So I started recording. So throughout all through 2023, all I did was perfect FL Studio. So
Okay.
I took every similarity from Voluco, from BandLab, and brought everything down to FL. Then there was this producer, his name is Ryan. I think he's in California. Also, so Ryan was a big emotional support for me. Then I'll be honest, because he was always replying. He always replied to my texts, if not knowing who I was, but he always replied and always answered every question I had on production. So that was another way I got to them. Though Ryan worked with Logic Pro, so I had to use the similarities of Logic Pro. I had to bring it down to FL again. But to be honest, it was not as difficult as I thought, because all I just needed was, I need to know what you're doing there. Then I come back home and I try to repeat the same process. So
Okay.
that was how I was able to get. Yeah.
Well, do me a favor.
And I always learn
Adjust
from them.
adjust your camera, because when you moved a little bit, now I can't see all of your face. So there we
Okay,
go. There we go. All right.
sorry.
Much better. Much better.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So and we'll edit these, we'll edit this so that all of these little different things are out. So
Yeah,
all right. So let me
sorry.
huh?
I'm sorry, I'm not consistent.
Sorry, what?
I'm sorry that I'm not consistent.
You're
Because
fine.
you have to.
You're fine. I just want to make sure we see your face.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. All right. So now let me get to my next question. Fun. Okay. So now you've had several names. You've gone by, is it
Yes.
Easy Boy? You've gone
Yes,
by
Easy Boy.
Microstring. Now you have become
Miko.
Raven. So what does Raven represent to you
Yeah.
that those previous names just didn't do for you?
Okay, so um now when I started with Easy Boy, I did more of rap. I did more of rap. And I guess I was 12. I was 11, 12 to 13 when I went by the name Easy Boy. Then Miko String was more. Miko String is my real name, just abbreviation. So MICO, Marshall Israel Troops Ogo. Miko. Then the string was because I played the guitar. So back then I walk everywhere with the guitar. Most people called me guitar boy and stuff like that. So
Okay.
that was why Miko String worked. But then my sound began to evolve and my looks as well. And I just realized that I can't be everywhere with the guitar, because the kind of promotion I'll do, the kind of sound I'll need to deliver will be limited based on the look I'm trying to build already. So I think the period where I chose the name Raven, I felt lost. I felt lost for a while, and I needed a miracle. Honestly, that was when I did Available. I made it available. When I made Available, I had a little support in management actually, but the management kept me for their own selfish purpose, which was they wanted me to keep making music for them, and I was not getting anything done. There was no housing, there was no clothing, there was no pay. So
No, no pay
it felt
for
like
for
advanced
doing
slavery.
they didn't want to pay you for the music that you were doing for them?
Yeah,
Ah,
they were not paying me. So all I had to, and I was with them as a producer. So I was not getting any pay, I was not getting anything. So that period, I just needed an escape. So
yeah.
I was stuck watching listen, what's the name of I was stuck watching Justice League. I was watching
Okay.
Justice League, and then the character Raven